Black Bag, directed by Steven Soderbergh and starring Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender, follows George Woodhouse and his wife Catherine. When Catherine is suspected of betraying the nation, George faces the ultimate test: loyalty to his marriage or country. Steven Soderbergh is one of those very popular directors that I've seen next to nothing from. The only movie that I've seen from him was his most popular film, being Ocean's 11, which I saw so long ago I legit cannot remember anything about it. Only thing I remember was the action was very good. A recent role that Michael Fassbender has starred in was The Killer, which is a film with a very strong lead. I think he'll sell the anxiety that the main character of The Killer had, though I'm not fully sure if that'll fit the movie. I haven't seen that many other lead roles from him, so I'm not fully sure about his lead capability. Cate Blanchett is an actress I get the praise for, but I'm not the hugest fan of everything she's been in. I think she's very strong in Carol, and I'm being fully serious when I say this, but I think her performance in Thor Ragnarok is also very good. I don't like Tara, but she's also pretty good in it. Off the trailers, I think this movie looks alright. I'm just not sure if the main moral choice of this film, being the main character choosing his wife or his country, will be very interesting. I'm not sure if it'll work without becoming very repetitive, along with some lines feeling very corny. I got no idea where this could go. The acting is strong, the action will probably be good. Who knows? I got no idea what I'm gonna think about this. So that's all my anticipation out of the way. I'll be back with my initial thoughts. It was okay. I don't really have anything to say about it. But I will, because I have to make a video. But I really don't got a lot. It was, I didn't like how stiff it was. I didn't like how lifeless it felt. But you know, there was good stuff. I'll talk about it. But yeah, that was my initial. I don't really have a lot to say. I really don't got, like, a lot on my mind right now. I just kind of left as a shrug. So, okay. That's my initial thoughts. Actual review, now. Can you feel the light? For the most part, this movie is very competently put together. The directing is questionable at points, as I'll get into later, but overall the cinematography and editing is very solid. I really like the use of long handheld takes. It's a pretty engaging tool and was a very cool way to start off this movie. Additionally, there are a lot of well-composed, put-together shots, especially in buildings. The wide shots always capture the environment very well. It kind of reminded me of Parasite, but obviously nowhere near as good. There's a dinner scene in this movie where the scene slowly evolves with the camera zooming in more and more as the scene goes on. It was really well done and subtle, slowly capturing the characters individually instead of in groups. All the cinematography in this movie is very good, along with the editing and sometimes the directing. Stuff like the interview scene comes to mind, which is really well written and executed, along with the very solid editing. I'm mostly using all these points just to say this movie is very well made, especially in its cinematography and editing. For more technical aspects, the score in Black Bag is actually really great. I don't think there's a lot of tracks, but when the score is playing, the movie feels super funky and unique. I love the main theme that's used several times during the film. It goes so hard and fits the spy thriller atmosphere very well, while also just being so much fun to listen to. The music being so off and strange was a bold risk that worked really well for me. It's mostly only used for establishing scenes, and frankly, as the movie goes on, the jazz music starts to go away, leading the score to be a bit weaker, but still, the music is great. I really wished it was used more because it actually went so hard. The trailers for Black Bag are pretty misleading, and what I actually thought the movie was going to be about didn't really happen. Still, this film does tackle George and Catherine's relationship, so I guess that's one thing the trailers were honest about. I really liked how stilted and off-putting the relationship was. The acting and chemistry between them is kind of bad, but that uncomfortable energy really adds to the film. I thought George was also a really solid lead. The acting was quite good, and his general monotone, serious attitude was nice, especially later on in the movie when he breaks that monotone appearance and actually starts to panic. Additionally, there are a lot of characters in this movie, and while I do have issues with them, as I'll get into later, I thought the general concept of everyone in Black Bag being a liar because they're all spies worked really well. It makes sense why they're all betraying and lying to each other because it's literally their jobs. I enjoyed this aspect of the film because it lets you know anyone could betray anyone. This also applies to George and Catherine. You never know if they're going to betray each other, and their strange, uncomfortable relationship really adds to this film, along with the angle of everyone around them being liars. I said that I liked the uncomfortable, awkward relationship between George and Catherine, but the movie itself also leans into a really stiff, cold tone, and to be honest, I don't care for it too much when it's not on the main relationship. Pretty much everyone in this movie puts up a really firm wall, leading all the dialogue to be very slow and drawn out. It's an interesting idea, but doesn't really work in the movie very well. It's very off-putting, and I really don't enjoy how often the stiff tone was used. Like, people would just be talking or engaging information, and the tone will lead that conversation to be extremely uncomfortable and last an uncanny amount of time. Sometimes this awkward tone works, especially during tense scenes, but a lot of the time it's just very unnecessary. Additionally, this tone leads pretty much every joke to land flat because everyone is so deadpan in their delivery. To add on to the stiff tone, this movie also has a really bad habit of having a good idea and then dragging it out to either pad out the runtime or to add to that uncomfortable tone that I talked about earlier. Some dialogue scenes like the dinner scene go on for far too long. It's like at least 10 minutes and it could be cut down so much. There is a lot of empty, silent moments that can work, but when the movie is constantly having drawn out scenes, it really starts to get old, and for a relatively short movie, it really dragged for me at its halfway point. Additionally, this movie has a lot of cool ideas, but when those cool ideas are dragged out for an unnecessary amount of time, it really just gets old and the scene becomes ruined by the need to drag everything out. My biggest issue with the entire film was the dialogue. This movie isn't an action film at all, it's more of a mystery thriller, and that's really shown in the dialogue with several twists around the characters. It was kinda neat at the start, but as the film goes on, the dialogue really starts to get old. This movie has a bad habit of using its dialogue to give exposition dumps on what's going on, and frankly, I just blanked out during those moments. They're not very interesting. This movie has no visuals or cuts when characters are talking, which of course adds to that stiff tone, but leads this movie to just have a lot of exposition between characters. Literally, this whole film is just talking, and there's nothing really there to keep me interested. It really starts to fall apart towards the end where all the setup comes together for the big reveal, but I got so lost by the constant dialogue I had no idea what was going on. I got it by the end where they explain everything that's happening, but the setup really didn't work because it's just a lot of exposition between characters. Pretty bad dialogue in this, it would have been fine, but this movie relies so hard on it that it becomes the movie's biggest weakness. Overall, this was alright. I really did think this was an action film going in, but it definitely isn't. You can watch it if you want, I guess. I kinda recommend watching this one at home with subtitles on when it comes on streaming, but whatever. My favorite aspects were the score, cinematography, and deception concept. My least favorite aspects was the over-exposition in the dialogue, tone, and dragging scenes out. And so I'm gonna give Black Bag a low 6 out of 10. I'm gonna be on trip next week, so I won't put anything out for a bit. The big video at the end of the month is going pretty well. For movies I missed this week, I might check out the Looney Tune one if people harass me enough, and watch Novocaine, it's really good. I make these reviews weekly, subscribe for the big monthly video, and comment if you found this video through my shorts. Thanks for watching, and this is an epic outro.